What's up, homies? It's Waldo, and today we are here for episode number 2 of my Baltimore Ravens franchise right here on Madden 17. So right here you see I am just going quickly through the settings. If you have any questions about why I have something enabled or why I'm not using one setting that you might be using, just be sure to leave it in the comments. I'll be happy to answer. I'll be using 12-minute quarters. I just feel like stats-wise it provides realistic stats. And, playing-wise, I feel like 10 minutes, it's just a bit too short for my liking, but 15 minutes, that's also a bit too long. So I feel like 12 it's a good compromise, and I'll be playing on all-pro difficulty just because I suck at this game. I'm not going to lie to you guys and say I'm really good at Madden. I'm really not. I've been playing for, I guess, over a decade, but I'm still not the best player. So you guys will see me make some stupid mistakes, so just get that disclaimer out of the way now. Hope you guys are fine with that. But right here you see I'm setting the XP slider. So basically, a good description about XP sliders if you're not familiar with them. I found this on Reddit. If you don't use XP sliders, then basically no position besides quarterback, outside linebacker, and maybe D-end will get you enough XP to progress at a normal rate. So by the time you get 5 to 6 years into a franchise and today's players begin to retire, you'll start seeing almost no players above 90 overall. So that's why I'm using these XP sliders to make things a bit more realistic so everyone can progress at the rate they do in real life. And the numbers I'll be using, I'll leave a link in the description, by the way, where I got these. These are from Operation Sports. But the numbers that I'm using, 90% for QBs, 216 for halfbacks, 200 for fullback, 260 for wide receiver, 140 for tight end, 270 for tackle, 300 for guard, 300 for center, 120 for D-end, 200 for D-tackle, 96 for outside linebacker, 110 for middle linebacker, 220 for cornerback, 160 for free safety, 110 for strong safety, 300 for kicker, and 300 for punter. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys a preseason recap. I'm not really going to give you guys condensed games like I will in the regular season, but just showing off some plays that I kind of liked from our 4 preseason games. So we're going to start off in this game against the Carolina Panthers, and Timmy Jernigan gets the sack, pushing the Panthers pretty much out of field goal range. You see it's now 4th and 18. Harbaugh, he is pumped about that despite it being the preseason. And now here's a 54-yard field goal attempt for the man himself, Justin Tucker. It's very nice, especially this year with the special teams revamped, to have a kicker that you can send out there and make these long 54, 56-yard field goals and not have to worry about it at all. So you see there it was a 7-5 game. Now it's a 10-5 game. Ryan Mallett in the game at this point. We're going to be running a little hurry up here. That pass is completed to Lorenzo Taliaferro, close to the first down marker. It'll be 2nd and inches. Now Mallett, little play action fake. He's going to roll out to the right. He has a ton of time. He's going to be looking for Brashad Perriman, who makes the catch. And that's going to put us into field goal range, but we're going to be looking for a little more 5-wide set. 22 seconds to go in the first half. Pass completed to Chris Matthews, and he pushes his way forward to the 21-yard line. 9-yard reception, and we call a timeout. And now another 5-wide set. 16 seconds to go here in the second quarter. Mount drops back. He's looking for Brashad Perriman, who makes the grab. First touchdown of his career, albeit in the preseason. But regardless, that'll give the Ravens their first lead of this first preseason game. Mallett put that pass exactly where he needed to put it, a dime, if you will. You don't hear that word used too much when you're talking about Mallett, but right where that pass needed to be. And that gets Perriman his first touchdown grab. Third quarter now, 1:12 to go. Derek Anderson in the game for the Panthers. He gets taken down. That is Brent Urban, one of our defensive linemen. And that forces another 4th down. So the Panthers will get a field goal out of that. It's currently 16-15 here late in the 4th quarter. Mallett's still in the game. We did have Josh Johnson in the game, but unfortunately he got injured. But look at Daniel Brown coming down with that pass. Lucky for Mallett that wasn't picked off. He threw it into double coverage. You probably wouldn't want to do that too often. But regardless, now 1st and goal. Keenan Reynolds in the game, the rookie running back from Navy. This is our first chance to see him. And he gives the handoff, bounces off of his offensive lineman. You figure if he didn't bounce off of that offensive lineman, he probably would have gotten a touchdown. But regardless, he gets us up to the 2. Now 3rd and goal. Ball's on the 3-yard line. The Ravens, of course, looking to punch it in here with 2 minutes to go in the game. They're going to try a little play action fake, but Mallett, no time at all to get rid of the ball. And that would bring up a 4th and goal. So the Ravens would have to settle for a Justin Tucker chip shot field goal, 28 yards. Ravens are with the clock to tick down, but no, it's blocked. The snap and the hole was good, but the kick was blocked, recovered by Robinson. You see he's 40, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10. Waller giving chase, but it doesn't matter. That would be the final nail in the coffin for your Baltimore Ravens as they would lose preseason game number 1 by a final score of 26-15 as the Panthers got a field goal in there late. So just looking at the team stats, just going to speed through these just a little bit. I won't be this, fast in the regular season. I'll actually go through things, but this is the preseason, so I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. You see we had 6 penalties for 45 yards, but we were only 3 for 18 on third downs. That is not what you would like to see, or 3 for 16, I believe. Ryan Mallett, he did okay, 16 for 27, of course, with the 2 picks. We just could not get the running game going, unfortunately. You see Taliaferro, our leading rusher, 9 attempts for 29 yards. That's just over 3 yards per carry. And, the offense itself didn't really do good. I mean, we only scored 15 points. Alex Lewis let up 3 sacks. That's definitely not what you want to see, although he is a backup, so at least, he won't be starting for us, hopefully. Zadarius Smith led the way with 9 tackles, and Justin Tucker 2 for 3 on field goals, and, of course, the extra point. Now, unfortunately, we did have some big injuries. Jamal Roll, one of our cornerbacks, he will be out for 47 weeks with an Achilles tear, so we're going to place him on the IR, which kind of stinks because, as I mentioned prior to this video, the secondary, it's definitely a little weak outside of Weddle and Smith, so we could definitely use help wherever we can get it, but unfortunately we'll have to put one of our cornerbacks on the injured reserve, and we're going to have to put our rookie right end, Calfosi, on the injured reserve as well. He'll be out for 46 weeks. So I wanted to trade Kendrick Lewis. We didn't really need him, seeing as we had Weddle, so Lewis wasn't going to get a lot of time. I didn't want to put him at strong safety. I wanted to keep Lardarius Webb there. So we decided to trade Kendrick Lewis to the Atlanta Falcons for a 4th-round pick. I know I could have gotten a 2nd-round pick if I really wanted to, but I just didn't feel like he was worth one of the top 60 players in the draft. And I know I could have gotten a 3rd-round pick, but I personally didn't feel like Lewis would be worth one of the top 90 players in the draft. But I did feel like a 4th-round pick for Kendrick Lewis was a realistic return for him. So now the Falcons have some help at the safety position, which they need. But now we will jump into the second preseason game here, 4th and goal, and we are going to go for it here. It is midway through the first quarter, just over 5 minutes to go. Flacco in the game. He's under center. He's going to fake it off to Forsett, and the throw to Pitta. Did he get both of his feet in? Yes, he did. Touchdown pass number 1 of the preseason for Joe Flacco, and that gives the Ravens the first quarter lead. We'll just get a couple angles in here to make sure, as Chuck Pagano is very upset about that. We'll make sure that Pitta got both of his feet in, and I think that just about sums it up. He definitely got both of his feet in before going out of bounds, and the Ravens have the 7-0 lead. And now 56-yard field goal for Mr. Tucker. We'll see if he can bang this one through, and that one is up right down the middle. 56-yard field goal for Justin Tucker. No problem for him. And the Ravens now have a 10-7 lead. Late now in the second quarter, Mallett is in the game for your Baltimore Ravens. Play action fake, and Mallett looking, ton of time. He's going deep down the sideline. The pass is complete. That is Chris Matthews. And we'll get a replay of this real quick. You see that 59-yard reception. Got to get that little celebration there, of course. You got to be, positive. You see Matthews just utilizing his height over the smaller cornerback. Nice job by Mallett recognizing that there was a mismatch over there on the right side of the field, and Matthews makes the grab and puts the Ravens into the red zone. So now 3rd and goal for the Ravens. 17 seconds to go in the first half. Mallett will start this play off under center. And he drops back to pass. He's looking, and he's going to look for Brashad Perriman, who makes the grab, his 2nd touchdown reception in as many weeks. His first one tonight, of course. And Perriman, he's looking strong here coming off of that injury he suffered last year. He looks like he wants to make a statement this year. And that put the Ravens up 10. But now you see the game is tied 17-17. Josh Johnson in the game now. Ball is handed off to Keenan Reynolds. And he muscles his way up to the 27-yard line. See, 2 rushes for 12 yards in this game. He's getting a little more playing time than he did last week. 50 seconds to go now in the game. Game still tied 17-17. Josh Johnson drops back. He passes it off to the wide receiver, Clay, and he will get out of bounds at the 40-yard line, stopping the clock. So you figure the Ravens are pretty much a field goal range for Justin Tucker. He has a hell of a leg, but they're going to want to try to get just a little closer, make it a little easier on Tucker So we're going to go with a little play, action, play. Johnson rolls out to the right. He's going to stop. He's looking, can't find anyone. So he's just going to scramble himself, give himself up. That's a nice 8-yard scramble by Mr. Josh Johnson. And that would put us in prime position to kick the game-winning field goal. But you see, Chuck Pagano, he wanted to ice our kicker, Justin Tucker. But, I mean, come on now. Do you think really icing Justin Tucker is going to do anything? Of course it's not, as you see here. 46-yard field goal to give the Ravens the late lead with just 16 seconds to go in the game. Snap is good. Hold is good. Kick is up right down the middle. Split the uprights. And that would give the Ravens the 20-17 win over the Colts in week number 2 of preseason action. Once again, looking at the statistics, the Ravens had a much better week this week for sure. Third downs were still a little bit of an issue. They only went 5 for 14, so you'd like to see that get a little better. But they won the time possession battle, which they did not do last week. Mallet, 7 for 15, 46% completion percentage. Josh Johnson did good in limited time, as did Flacco. No interceptions thrown this week. That is definitely an improvement over last week. The ground game looked a little better than it did last week, although Taliaferro only averaged just over 3 yards a carry. You'd like that to be a little higher, but Reynolds, he had a solid day, as did Forsett. Chris Matthews leading the way once again for the wide receivers. No one allowed 3 sacks this week, so that's always good. And our defense didn't do all that bad as well, only letting up 17 points to the Indianapolis Colts, albeit it is in the preseason, but I'll take that for sure. More injury news. Daniel Brown, one of our wide receivers, one of the plethora of wide receivers we have on the roster, he is going to be out for 4 weeks with a broken thumb, and one of our young D tackles, Willie Henry, 22 years old, he'll be out for 4 weeks with a dislocated knee. So now we have to cut 3 players. The first one we're going to cut is Kalen Clay. Just did not do a ton in the preseason in the time he was given. And we, as I mentioned, we have a plethora of wide receivers, so I don't really think we need to keep him around. Now moving, we currently have, 6 middle linebackers. We don't need 6. I mean, honestly, we don't need more than 3. So we're going to have to get rid of somebody, and it's going to end up being Albert McClellan. He is 30 years old. I'd rather keep some of the younger guys around as opposed to a 30-year-old middle linebacker. And you see, we'll get a net 710K in cap space, but penalty is 600K. So we're at least, we're still saving, a little bit in the cap. But regardless, we're going to get rid of him. And then, it's funny. I mentioned making mistakes earlier. So here I accidentally cut Benjamin Watson, who, as you all probably know at this point, he will be out for the year. He suffered an injury in the Ravens' 3rd preseason game. So I wasn't going to use him at all this year just because he was injured, and I want this to be a little realistic. You see here, I was a little shocked. I was like, crap, I didn't mean to do that. But I guess it's okay because I wasn't going to use him at all this year, and there was not really any point keeping him on the roster. I mean, I would just end up putting him on injury reserve anyway if he was injured in this game. So, I mean, right now he's in the free agent pool, but he's not going to be on the team this year, which I guess is okay. I hope you guys don't mind that. But now we're going to jump into the 3rd preseason game here, this one against the Detroit Lions. And you see here Flacco showing off the athleticism a little bit. Nobody was open, so he scrambles for 6 yards and gets the first down. Here early on in the first quarter, the Lions, of course, already have this 7-0 lead. Now late in the second, score is only 7-6. We still only have 2 Justin Tucker field goals to show for ourselves on offense. Starter still in the game, of course, the 3rd preseason game. It's kind of referred to as the dress rehearsal, and Forsett breaks a tackle, and he looks like he's running through quicksand, but he manages to dive into the end zone for a touchdown. That's his first of the day. See here, Forsett, he did break that tackle. He got a nice block from the fullback. And right there, he was running a little slow there towards the end. It was a little very climactic. But regardless, he got into the end zone. But that's about all the good times we had in this 3rd preseason game. The offense just couldn't get much going aside from Justin Tucker field goals. And you see we lose preseason game number 3 to the Detroit Lions by a final score of 20-16. So we do a little bit better on 3rd downs. We go 9 for 18. That's 50%. We won the time of possession battle, so we're getting better, right? We're getting better from the 1st preseason game to the 3rd preseason game for sure. You see, Justin Forsett had himself quite a day, 25 attempts for 111 yards, and, of course, that TD. The receivers looked all right. We didn't let up a ton of sacks, which is always good. Jimmy Smith had a solid day, as did C.J. Mosley and Brandon Williams, at least in terms of tackles. You see Brandon Williams also had a sack to his name. And Tucker 3 for 3 on field goals. He's been one of our constants in the preseason. Of course, now we have to cut some more players. And I'm looking at running backs because we have way too many running backs. We don't need this many on the roster. That's for sure. So it's between Taliaferro, Allen, and West. And honestly, it's between West and and Allen at this point, because I know I want to keep Taliaferro. And I'm going to end up cutting Terrence West. He's 25 years old. I just like Allen's skill set just a little better than West's. So I decided to let go of Terrence West, put him off the team, and that is that. So now we have to cut somebody else. We have to cut 3 more players, as you see. And I decided to cut Nick Boyle. We just have too many tight ends at this point, even with the subtraction of Benjamin Watson. And Boyle, he's not going to get a lot of time. I don't like his skill set. So we're going to cut Boyle from the team. So that's 2 of the 4 cuts we need to make. Now we need to find another player to cut, and now we're looking at our left outside linebackers, looking at Chris Carter, but we're going to end up keeping him, and we're going to actually cut Victor Ochi, the 22-year-old, 6'1", 246-pound left outside linebacker, and keep Chris Carter from Fresno State. And that is that. Now looking at middle linebackers, we just have way too much of them, so we're going to end up cutting Cavell Connor. He's just 29 years old, and as I mentioned before, I'd rather keep some of the younger guys who I can develop as opposed to the 29-year-old who doesn't have much more room to grow. So we're going to end up cutting Cavell Connor between him and Arthur Brown, but obviously we're going to cut Connor over Brown, and that would be the cuts for the week. So now week number 4, the final week of the preseason, we're going to jump into this game against the New Orleans Saints. 7-3 here late in the second quarter. Josh Johnson in the game. We're going to go a little screen pass to Keenan Reynolds. He trips over on his offensive line and tries to get back up. He probably would have gotten up if there wasn't that defender behind him. But regardless, now you see, hopping into the fourth quarter, 17-10 is the score. Luke McCown in the game at this point, of course, for the New Orleans Saints. And boom, look at that hit by Arthur Brown. Speaking of Arthur Brown, why would we cut that guy when he does that? The fumble was recovered by Lawrence Guy, and we get great starting field position late in the fourth quarter with the lead. That would pretty much seal the game up. We're going to get a look at this once again through replay. See here, pass is complete to Hightower, but look at that. That's a hit stick level hit by Arthur Brown. And then we recovered the fumble, which is always good. You know, obviously there's definitely some problems with fumbling in this game, but that one, you got to tip your hat to Mr. Arthur Brown there, the linebacker. Just a hell of a hit to knock the ball loose from Hightower. And you see Keenan Reynolds just will not go down. 11-yard run from the Navy rookie. And that would just about seal the deal. So the Ravens split their preseason games, winning game number 4 17-10 and going 2-2 in the 2016 preseason. Looking at the statistics, 7 for 16 on third down. So third downs, hopefully they are not as much of an issue in the regular season as they were in the preseason. Reynolds had a nice day, 25 attempts, 76 yards. But then looking at it, 2 fumbles. That's not what you'd like to see. And he was only averaging just 3 yards a carry. You'd like that number to be just a little higher. Tackles, Zadarius Smith led the way again, so he had a nice preseason. He'll definitely make the team, and Justin Tucker, of course, had another nice day. So we have to cut 10 players from the roster. This is probably the toughest part of the preseason. So we're just going to go position by position here. So we only have 3 quarterbacks. We're not going to cut any of them. But you see, we have 5 running backs. You don't need 5 running backs. Ideally, I'd like to keep 3, so this was probably the easiest decision, moving Keenan Reynolds to the practice squad. I don't think he's quite ready to be on the Ravens squad yet, but I think adding him to the practice squad, maybe developing him, that might be a good thing to do. But right now we have 4 running backs. We might go back to them later. Fullback, we're fine. Wide receiver, we have 5 healthy ones and 2 that are currently injured, so we can't do much in that regard. In terms of tight ends, you see we still have 4 tight ends, and this is one of my mistakes that I kind of regret making. So Waller is suspended for 4 games in real life, so I'm going to keep that realistic. So he won't play for the first 4 games in this series, which is fine. But unfortunately, I didn't know that when I was recording this video. I guess I probably should have, but I end up putting Max Williams on the practice squad. Now, in hindsight, what I should have done was put Waller on the practice squad and kept Max Williams on the team. But unfortunately, I put him on the practice squad, and he would end up getting claimed by Oakland in the next week. So, unfortunately, we no longer have Max Williams. That's a mistake on my part. I'm very sorry. I hope you guys don't mind that too much. But you know, you live and you learn. It's just one of those things where, in hindsight, you'd like to do something different, but unfortunately, we can't change time. So, no more Max Williams on the Baltimore Ravens, at least at this point. Maybe we'll sign him back at a later date. Who knows? But you see, we have now cut 3 players. And now just going through the defense, we have currently 3 left outside linebackers. I don't really want to keep 3. I'd rather just keep 2. And you see, we signed back Victor Ochi just to have another outside linebacker to throw out there in the 4th preseason game. Just, you know, get some young guys some playing time. And this time, it's not a difficult decision. We're going to cut Ochi, and we will end up keeping Chris Carter. So our left outside linebackers this season will be Doomerville and Chris Carter. Moving to middle linebackers, we have 4. I don't want to keep 4. I'd rather keep 3. And obviously we're going to keep Mosley and Correa. Correa, of course, one of our draft picks from 2016. So it's between Zachary Orr and Arthur Brown. And we're going to end up getting rid of Zachary Orr. Arthur Brown just had a very solid preseason for us, if unspectacular. He did okay. Zachary Orr, meanwhile, he didn't do terrible, but we just decided to cut him because I'd rather keep Brown over Orr. But, if we ever need linebacking help throughout this season, let's say like Brown and Correa or Brown and Mosley or whoever gets injured, I could definitely see us signing Zachary Orr back to the team because, obviously he knows the system, right? So he would definitely be someone that we could pick up. He's not eligible for the practice squad, so we can't put him there. But he's definitely a guy we can keep an eye on in case we get riddled with injury. So we decided to cut Zachary Orr. Now moving through, we have 3 right outside linebackers. We don't really need 3. I'd only like to keep 2 on the roster. So what we're going to do is we're going to put Matt Judon on the practice squad. I really like his skill set looking at his player card. I think this is definitely a guy we can develop into, if nothing else, a really good depth outside linebacker. So we're going to put him on the practice squad. Hopefully he doesn't get signed later on, and we're going to keep Zadarius Smith on the team. Right now we have 6 cornerbacks, although one of them is injured. So we're going to look at Tavon Young's player card here real quick. Just, see what he brings to the table. And we're going to end up moving him to the practice squad because I did like his skill set. He's another guy that I think maybe we can develop later on. Moving to free safeties, we don't really need 3 free safeties, so we're going to end up getting rid of Anthony Levine Sr., 29 years old, as opposed to the 25-year-old Terrence Brooks. I'd rather keep the younger guy. You'll find that's my mindset a lot of the time. I'd rather keep the younger guy that I can develop as opposed to the guy that's, close to 30 or over 30. So that is 8 of the 10 guys we have to cut or get rid of. So now we just have to get rid of 2 more guys. Right here, we're going to move Kenneth Dixon to the practice squad. As I mentioned, I didn't want to keep 4 running backs on the roster. So we're going to get rid of Kenneth Dixon. That makes our lives a little easier, and we just have to find a way to get rid of 1 more person on the team. That person will be Chris Matthews, because I want to give Waller an extended look. I really think that I can develop him into a solid number 3 receiver. At worst, maybe a number 2, who knows, but I really feel like I can develop him. And once he comes back from injury, I think we're going to use him in Matthews' spot. And don't forget, we also have the 2 other wide receivers that were injured, so we'll see what happens with them. But going through the depth chart here, obviously no real changes to quarterback, running back, or fullback. Wide receiver, we'll go with Smith, Aiken, Perriman, Wallace, Waller when he gets back from injury or suspension, and Dennis Pitta. So we're really only running with 4 wide receivers at this point, and then a mix of tight ends and running backs, I suppose, until Waller gets back from suspension. The other 2 wide receivers get back from injury. Moving to left tackle, Ronnie Staley will be our starting left tackle. Yanda will be starting at left guard with Urschel backing him up. Jeremy Zuda will be our starting center with Jensen behind him. At right guard, Vladimir Dukas with Urschel and Hurst behind him. Rick Wagner will be our starting right tackle. And moving on to defense, Timmy Jernigan and Capron Lewis Moore will be at left end. Lawrence Guy and Brent Urban will be at right end. Brandon Williams, Carl Davis, and once he comes back, Willie Henry will be our defensive tackles. Left outside linebacker, Elvis Doomerville and Chris Carter. Middle linebacker, CJ Mosley, Correa, and Arthur Brown. And the right outside linebacker, of course, Mr. Terrell Suggs. At cornerback, Jimmy Smith, Will Davis, Kyle Arrington, Sharice Wright, and Gerard Powers. At free safety, Eric Weddle. At strong safety, Lardarius Webb. And, of course, our kicker will be Justin Tucker, punter, Sam Cook. And our kick return, we're going to use Brooks. For right now, we could obviously change that as the season goes along. Punt return, we're going to go with Mike Wallace. Our kickoff specialist will be Justin Tucker. Our long snapper will be Marshall Yanda. And our third down running back will be Justin Forsett. So that's what the depth chart is looking like right now. So I just want to thank you guys for watching episode number 2. Be sure to leave a like if you did enjoy, and just be sure to leave a comment down below if you have any questions, comments, concerns, just whatever. Because I love seeing comments pop up in my inbox. It's definitely one of my favorite things, as weird as that sounds. I just love to interact with you guys, as it says down in the description. But hey guys, once again, thanks for watching. Episode number 3 will be our week 1 game against the Buffalo Bills, and episode number 4 will be our first episode of our NFL primetime style league recap. So anyway guys, once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.